I always tell people if there's a secret plan for that to happen, it's so secret that nobody's let me in on it yet. So I kind of doubt that will happen. I do tell people to be considered to be the Vice President of the United States is obviously an honor. I mean, it is. And I know some people may not like hearing that, but to tell you the truth, it is an honor to be considered and to know that you could have some influence in the direction of which, that the country goes. But I don't probably see that happening, and no one's asked me in particular or specifically about it. With regard to, where my father goes, what the delegate strategy is, whether it could be a brokered convention, I think it's unlikely. I think now that Santorum has dropped out, unless something changes dramatically in the next couple of primaries, in all likelihood, Romney will collect the numbers necessary to get the nomination sometime in May or June. One of the things is that if you win 5 states, you get to get your name placed in nomination, and you get guaranteed a position at the convention. And there's still some chance of that. Even though my dad didn't win 5 states, a lot of the delegations are not decided until you go through the state convention. They have county conventions, and they work their way up. And Ron Paul's done very well in Nevada, Missouri, Maine, Iowa, and a couple of the other caucus states. So there's an outside chance that he still wins 5 states, but I think that's one of the reasons that he'll go on probably giving speeches and traveling around and encouraging voters at least through the state conventions, which are mostly over in June. Sure, it's a victory just to be there injecting real issues. Moving quickly through some questions in the 5 minutes we have left, Senator. TSA, they have now announced, Congresswoman Jackson has announced here in Texas, Sheila Jackson Lee, that they have undercover Homeland Security outside of the 10th Amendment, TSA now on the buses and the highways. We've known this is coming, but that's just as illegal as Obama taking orders from the UN. There's got to be some end to this craziness. Dave Mustaine was just here in town visiting me a few weeks ago, rock star from Megadeth, and he complained to me that his 14-year-old daughter got groped at the airport here in Austin. There's got to be some end to this. Can you call for hearings in the Senate? I mean, isn't it illegal from your constitutional research to have the TSA now on the streets of Texas? I can't call for hearings. The majority party completely controls hearings. ISA can get hearings in the House and has had some. The interesting thing is what happened to you guys in Texas? I thought you guys were going to stand up to the federal government and ban the TSA from doing that in Texas. The feds threatened a air blockade, military blockade, and the unanimous House then fell to their knees and said, here's our daughters and sons, start groping. Well, we're going to continue the fight up here, and really becomes more complicated because this ends up becoming not just about personal liberty. It becomes about union power and the fact that the Democrats are big on creating new government unions because they're new voting blocks and new blocks of money that they can get, forced union dues to support their campaigns. So really the TSA is one of the biggest government unions now. And so we've been fighting, to privatize security, many of us, and would like to do that. We will probably propose legislation coming up that will do that, as well as some that will be less dramatic but would actually forbid them from doing pat-downs. We think the idea of random pat-downs is ridiculous, insulting, and really making no one safe. And, I think that if you made searches based on evidence of suspicious behavior or something like that, or basically had some kind of risk assessment done, then you wouldn't be doing this to elderly women, babies, children, the rest. The other thing that would make it a little better, not perfect, but would be just to have a frequent flyer program of some sort. And I don't want the government running it, but if it were done privately and voluntarily, I think you could develop some kind of frequent flyer program. 2 final questions, Senator Paul. Number one, everyone has been impressed, even mainstream media has been impressed, that you could run for office for the first time in your life and be catapulted into the U.S. Senate, and that you have kept your promises and done so well and had such a senatorial, gentlemanly bearing and have learned the procedures and things. I mean, everyone I know
across the political spectrum is saying Rand Paul, if Ron Paul doesn't make it, well, Rand Paul is definitely presidential material for the Republic. I mean, I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but, I mean, are you starting to think more about running for president?
Well, I think it's too early to tell, and a lot of it, depends on what happens with this election. So, we'll wait and see, but I think also the voice within the Senate can be a pretty loud voice, and I'm definitely going to do everything I can to use the position of the Senate to fight for constitutional limited government, to really fight to fend off what I think is a coming calamity. If we do not address this debt bomb that's coming at us, we really are in for a bad way, and it may be something that hits us before there is even another presidential election. So we're fighting day in, day out to get people around here to wake up to the imminence of this problem. I've been telling people for a year there's a day of reckoning coming, and it's not something we're looking forward to. It's either something where we destroy our currency, and when you destroy a currency, it leads to chaos in the streets, and we don't want that to happen. All of these problems are fixable, though, and we have a wonderful country with a wonderful heritage, and there is an amazing potential locked up in our country that if it were unleashed and you allow people to freely interact and trade with each other, that we would once again be a dominant force in the world if we would just, really believe in ourselves and believe in our heritage.
I agree with you. Speaking of our heritage not having high taxes, Warren Buffett, the biggest recipient of the banker bailouts domestically, that's McClatchy, Associated Press, it's a fact. He says raise taxes on millionaires or people making $150,000 individually or $250,000 in a couple. Well, he's the guy that wants that money out of the next bailout on record. I mean, this is asinine. Give us a brief comment on that, Senator, because I know you've got to go, and then what you're going to do on a balanced budget amendment.
Well, I tell people I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about Buffett's secretary. I think she makes more money than I do, and I think her assets are probably greater than mine. And so I'm not, too concerned about Warren Buffett's secretary. But I think the argument that if two people paid the same percentage in taxes, if he pays 15%, his secretary pays 15%. Let's say she makes $200,000 a year and he makes $20 million a year or $200 million. He pays 1,000-fold more in taxes than she does. So the thing is you can have progressive taxation with a flat tax code. So the idea that the rich are not paying their fair share in our country is a lie. It is absolutely untrue. We have the most progressive tax code maybe in the world. Our tax code is more progressive than Sweden's tax code. So they need to just tell the truth on it. But the bottom line is I want the private sector, the pie that is the private sector, to be bigger and the pie that is the government sector to be smaller. So I don't want anybody's taxes to go up. And if you're richer than me and you've got 3 cars and I've got a moped, I need to go out and work harder, and I don't need to take it from you. I need to encourage you to hire more people by allowing you to do better. And so I don't really look at people who are wealthy business owners and say, oh, let me drag them down. I look at them and let's say, how can we get the government out of their way so this creative person, man or woman, can create more jobs? So I look at it the opposite way, and I think there's enough people left in America who like the idea of the American dream, who like the idea of success. And every generation there's somebody. I meet people every day whose parents just finished high school and weren't very successful who are now successful in this generation. It doesn't always happen, but that has been the beauty of America, is that mobility. And the interesting thing is 60% of the people born in the lowest rung, the bottom 20%, move up out of poverty. 60% of millionaires the following year don't make $1 million a year. So people move up and down this social ladder all of the time, and that freedom to go up and down the ladder is what America's about.
Well, the crony monopolists, they know that when you raise taxes over time, it destroys the pie and impoverishes. They want the control, undoubtedly. It is so refreshing to talk to a senator who does not compromise and is just so real. Senator Rand Paul, thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, Alex.
Amazing.
I'd like to ask you a question about the, about the incident down in Orlando, Florida with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman?
Yeah, I heard about it on the on TV and things of that nature.
Okay, can you give me any insight on the details that you know of this case?
Well, from my understanding is there was a kid, And he's African American. Guy was Hispanic, and some incident occurred between the two of them when I guess the guy was being suspicious. He left the area. That guy ended up chasing, following him. Somehow a fight ensued between the two of them. The guy pulled out a gun and shot and killed the kid.
Okay. Do you know that there is a news agencies and some news agencies that are calling George Zimmerman, the accuser, they're calling him a white man. Did you know that?
No, I think he's Hispanic.
Okay, I guess one of his parents has some white or Caucasian in them. So they are calling him a white man.
But they don't necessarily make him white because he got Caucasian in him. You know, I got a little bit of Irish in me. They don't call me Irish.
True. Would you have any insight, any theories on why they might do this?
No. News, radio, media, things like that. No.
A lawsuit was filed in 2008 by the NRDC asking them to ban the possibly carcinogenic bisphenol A. The FDA, after court order, rejected the ban, stating that they do not have enough human research. Well, the irony of this is that in 2009, there was an American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funding to the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, in which the purpose was to fill in the gaps. Now, it was supposed to be a 2-year study. So I started wondering, where did the money go? Where did these gaps? Hello? Why haven't they got the human research yet? Well, I found the funding opportunity description, and the earliest start date was set for August 2011. So once again, the FDA is kicking the can down the road, and they love to do this. Time is money, and time is something that, you know, when people are dying of breast cancer, those people don't have as much as the people making the decisions. So this is how it is. Now, in the funding opportunity description, it says that they want rat studies. It doesn't even say anything about human studies in the actual description that the researchers did. And it also states that the research is going to be taking place at FDA headquarters. So I'm hoping that there was a meeting done with the researchers saying we need human studies, but at the same time, I'm really not hoping that, because I don't really like the idea of humans being studied for the effects of bisphenol A. I think that we've got enough research, and that the FDA should do its job and ban the injection of this compound into our food. It's not labeled.
Hello, this is John Mueller, reporting for INFOWARS.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Wannabe Alex Jones Report. I am going to be reporting to you the news and all the things that are important and what you would think are unimportant, but really is important. Now, our first story tonight is going to be on Ron Paul 2012. Now, there's a guy named Ron Paul out there, if you haven't heard. He has a son named Rand Paul who ran for Senate in Kentucky, I believe, and he himself is running for President of the United States of America in the primary for the Republican nomination. Now, he's been doing very good in the beginning, but lately his results have been slacking off. And this may wonder very many people in the world why Ron Paul's crowds are so much bigger than all the other candidates' crowds. Let's go to our correspondent in the field to address on this matter. John, are you out there?
Yes, John, thank you for passing it to me again. The Ron Paul 2012 campaign is very underway. There has been a lot of victories for Ron Paul. He's gotten a lot more votes than he did the last year in the last presidential election. He has practically won Maine, but there's a big controversy on whether they might have stolen that from him.
Okay, what are real responsibilities? People nowadays, adults, watch Desperate Housewives, Sopranos, Made Men, Mad Men, all these shows where greed and trickery and lust and sexual prowess and money and power are considered the adult attributes, and things like morality, kindness to others are laughed upon and abused and walked over. Keep it real, America. Be a real adult, a real warrior. The adults care for others.